Once past the summit, the aspect is very different, and the countryside suddenly very dry. All the rain that falls on the lush coastal plain of the garden route is the rain that never reaches this area. Known as the Little Karoo, it lies in the deep rain shadow of the Oudtschoorn Mountains. It has a character all of its own, and the indigenous people call it Kango, the narrow land between mountains. We leave the train on its way to Oudtschoorn, now just a few kilometers ahead. Because there is another way to get to Oudtschoorn, also offered as part of a Union Limited travel experience, the Transnet Heritage Foundation's historic flight. To partake of this option, you also start in Cape Town, staying at the Breakwater Lodge, and then flying to Oudtschoorn, where you join the train. This unusual establishment at the Victoria and Alfred waterfront has made imaginative use of what was once the Breakwater Prison. The lodge is run in conjunction with the University of Cape Town's Graduate School of Business. Where prisoners once served out their sentences, tutorials are now held. And where convicts once sweated at hard labor, you now have a room with a view, and a restaurant that offers much more than prison rations. The Breakwater Lodge is the ideal stopover before embarking on your historic flight. So while the Union Limited climbs the rails up the Montague Pass, a vintage aircraft prepares to climb the skies, the DC3 Dakota that flies the passengers from Cape Town to Oudtschoorn. The DC3 has been called the single most important aircraft in the history of air transportation and the world's most popular plane. After leaving Cape Town, she'll turn slowly eastwards to fly parallel to the coast, just as the train did 2 days ago. By 1939, DC-3s made up no less than 90% of the world's airline traffic. And during World War II, they were the workhorses of the Allied skies. There are still some 1,500 of them flying today, and they have an avid following.
I was lucky to get on the DC-4 in Munich, and after that, after having talked to the pilot, funnily enough, he was the same pilot who flew the DC-3 now from Cape Town to Oudtschoorn. And I was lucky to be in the cockpit itself, and that for me, of course, was really a big adventure. Flying 6,000 miles on a Boeing 747 to get on the DC-3 for 1.5 hours in South Africa was really worth it.
So aerodynamically sound are the DC-3s that, according to their pilots, they almost fly themselves. Crossing the Oudtschoorn, this 60-year-old flying machine takes the turbulence in her stride. Beyond the mountains lies Oudtschoorn, the informal capital of the Little Karoo. Here, the flight passengers will join the train and take a tour of the area. Today, Oudtschoorn is a thriving country town, but its past fortunes have been fickle and intimately bound up with a very curious creature. Better known for its feathers than its beauty, the ostrich was once the source of fabulous wealth. During late Victorian and Edwardian times, ostrich feathers were a fashion accessory that no woman of any social standing would be without. This was La Belle Époque, the age of elegance, style and leisure, if you were well off enough to afford them. The Oudtschoorn feather barons were ostrich farmers who became millionaires overnight and spent their millions almost as quickly. Their ostrich palaces were extravagant confections of Art Nouveau detailing, dressed sandstone and intricate cast iron lacework. They were monuments to ostentation, but also to solid Edwardian craftsmanship. Today, ostriches are still found in Oudtschoorn for their feathers, hide, venison and entertainment value.
Excuse me. Come on, anyone else?
Now, in general, they are meat eaters. Depending on what we have, that is what they get 3 times a week. And because alligators, crocodiles, they are cold-blooded animals. For 3 months during the winter time, that is when we don't feed the alligators, crocodiles. The reason for that, what happens if you feed them and it's too cold? Then the meat in their stomachs are not going to digest. After some time, it forms a weight, the crocodile will sink, and eventually that crocodile will drown.
Here at the Kango Wildlife Ranch, we also find some far more endearing creatures. Of all the big cats, the cheetah is the easiest to tame. And just like domestic cats, they also butt, stretch, nuzzle, and purr. With the sun sinking in the western sky, we leave Oudtschoorn and begin the return trip to George. At this time of day, the little Karoo, with its stony ground and scrubby vegetation, seems somehow less harsh. We approach the tiny halt of Camphor on the edge of the Oudtschoorn Mountains, our last water stop for the day. In the glow of the evening light, things acquire an air of romance and nostalgia. And even the mundane task of watering the locomotives takes on a ritualistic significance. Thoughts turn to art and beauty, and getting the exposure right. There are magic moments to be captured. The Montague Pass at twilight has a different atmosphere. Darkness settles on Fynbos and forest. The world draws in. We dine in fine style in our 1930s dining saloon. Cocooned against the night, the Union Limited steams on towards George.